Hi. Welcome to another movie plot. Spoilers ahead. In the not-too-distant 2034, a real-life battle royale called Slayers is broadcasted around the world. Today's event takes place inside a factory, where the most famous inmate Kable racks up points for kills. Others are shown to be wandering around the battlefield like NPCs, unable to even react to the violence around them. Kable is controlled by a 17-year-old gamer named Simon, who after slaughtering almost everyone in his way gets blown out a window, but makes his way to an extraction zone to win the match. The other survivors congratulate him as he only has 3 wins left to earn his freedom. Reporter Gina discusses her show's next guest, a genius recluse named Ken Castle, who created Slayers after the success of his first game called Society, a simulation where you can pay to control someone, or you get paid to be controlled by someone else. Everyone in both Slayers and Society have implants in their brains to let them be controlled by a stranger. He defends Slayers to Gina by stating that they are all death row inmates who chose to sign up, and if they can stay alive for 30 battles they will be set free. The government allows it as the games are all on pay-per-view and fund the entire prison system. After the show, the cameras are hacked by a resistance group called Humans. The Humans' brother condemns Castle's creations, believing we'll all be his slaves if we continue to indulge him. A convict beats a guard to death in prison and tries to escape, but is launched into the air. Kable sits by himself when approached by friend and inmate Freak, who talks about how Kable spooks everyone else, having won 27 games when no one else can even survive 10. Later on, a stranger drops a picture of his wife and child in his cell, then asks Kable for his autograph for her son David, but takes a blood sample from him when he does. On the outside we see Cable's wife Angie makes a living in Society, where she is controlled by an obese creep named Gorge. He lets another person grope Angie while her attention's on a banner of her husband, until Society is hacked into by Humans and ruins his night. Castle sits at home watching a news report about how he lost billions of dollars due to Society being shut down for hours, but doesn't care. In the next Slayers battle, the convicts all run out into a city-themed map, where a shootout ensues with people being blown up left, right and center, and Cable's squad walking straight through everyone else. Simon uses Kable to save a convict walking like an NPC on the road, but they just get up and continue their route being hit by a truck. Cable's teammate Sandra saves his life, but not long after, gets her own head blown off. Simon and Kable manage to survive the chaos and get to the extraction point alive, as the whole world cheers for his 28th victory. Simon is shown to be a spoilt rich kid living at home with his parents, and buys ammo upgrades for Kable with all the points he just won. He is constantly bombarded with messages from girls wanting to breed with Kable, offering him money to play as him, and his sister telling him to move out. The Humans then take over Simon's system, giving him a mod that allows him to speak with his avatar. Castle on the other hand has no intention of releasing Kable, and places an inmate named Hackman into the next game to eliminate him. Arriving back in lockup, a crazed prisoner tries rip the nanobots from his brain, but dies. Hackman stares down his target Kable, who hears from Freak that he killed a bunch of people but turned himself in. Hackman confronts Kable in the locker room having just killed someone, and tells him that no one controls him so he has no delay. He promises to kill Kable and his family then runs away. Kable suddenly hears Simon speaking in his head having installed the illegal upgrade, and he begins to chat away during the firefight. This time battling on a motocross track, Kable sees that Freak has been given the NPC treatment. Since you get released for surviving a single battle as an NPC, he gives it a try. But he's shot. Kable reminds him that they're all real people, but Simon doesn't care as they're death row psychos, saying that it's different with him because he is his. They reach the border of the map, so a deterrent is fired at Kable, before Hackman drops in and blindsides him. Just as he tries to shoot him, the gun shuts down as another player reaches the extraction zone. As Simon buys Kable upgraded armor for the final battle, his feed is hacked into again by the Humans, this time convincing him to set Kable loose in the next game. The same woman who took Cable's blood now tells him that he needs to escape, as they will never let him win this last game. He asks her for a bottle of vodka which he finds slipped into his vest, and downs the entire thing before running out for his last stand. Stumbling around the battlefield drunk, Simon instantly regrets turning him loose, begging him to get at least one kill. Kable staggers to a vehicle with an ethanol gas tank, vomiting and pissing the bottle of vodka back up into it. When starting it, Hackman attacks again and jumps onto the side step, so Kable sideswipes a pillar to be rid of him. He begins to leave the battleground, ignoring Simon's warning to get back in the game.
I'm dead.
Being chased by dozers, he manages to kill the driver but crashes through the perimeter and flips the truck. He gets away though just before a rocket can hit him. and all the fans watching across the world assumes he died. Kable goes to Angie's apartment looking for her but is met by Trace, the member of humans that took his blood in the cell, and she takes him to their headquarters. They took his blood to crack his nano code, allowing Simon to talk to him, but when they ask Kable to help them bring down Castle, he isn't interested, just wanting to find his family. So brother tells Kable he knows where she is. Angie goes to a care worker to ask about getting her daughter back, but gets laughed at when hearing about her profession and where the father is, and is told her kid's with a rich family. So she goes back to work. Gorge is getting his Angie on again in society, where he takes her to a bar to meet Rick, previously banned from the place for God knows what. They go to a hotel where the clearly uncomfortable Angie has no choice but to prance around in front of him at the control of Gorge. Before he can do anything to her, Kable shows up and breaks Rick's back, but only gets replies from Gorge when trying to speak to his wife. Hackman shows back up again, blasting Kable through a wall and taking Angie, not knowing he is still wearing a vest from the game. Two society actors get into the elevator and begin to make out, unable to control themselves to even scream. Hackman kills them both while Gorge gets off on it. Kable grabs Hackman off the elevator at ground floor and begins to fight him, blowing off his foot and escaping Castle's guards with Angie. Gorge then leads Kable to a rave with people suspended from the ceiling, but guards follow them there and kill a bunch of society members with crossfire, while others party in the blood. They escape the club to Gina pulling up with a female Oompa Loompa, telling them she's here to help. She takes them to humans' headquarters, where Angie is injected with something that kills the signal to the nanites in her head. Brother knows that Kable and his friend were the first test subjects for the nanites, but doesn't know how his friend died and why he was locked up. The humans take a look at Cable's memories, and see that Kable was arrested when he tried to control himself but couldn't, shooting his friend while being manipulated by Castle. Angie then wakes up as her regular self, and the reunited couple hear from Trace that Castle adopted their daughter after she was taken away from them. Simon is interrogated by Agent Keith, who wants to know how Kable escaped, but is eventually released after questioning and goes home as the most hated kid in the world. Castle's goons go to Gorge's apartment to trace his avatar's last location, but Kable has already left the humans' headquarters by the time they arrive. Castle knows that he will come for his daughter, so he lets Kable enter his mansion just to be baited in by a projection of her. He then comes across Castle controlling a group of half-dead avatars and performing a dance number. Castle reveals to him that he killed everyone in the humans' headquarters, so they begin to fight. Kable kills all the zombies one by one, leaving only Castle but having his daughter threatened if he harms him. Castle explains that while everyone else's are set to receive signals, Castle's nanobots are set to transmit, allowing him to control anyone in the world with just his mind. He gives him a demonstration with Hackman by attacking Kable from behind, but Kable easily defeats him this time since he doesn't have his freedom. Having had enough of it, he tries to kill Castle, but is still controlled by the implants in his head which he thought were disabled. Gina broadcasts Cable's nano code to the world to see what he sees, and we see that Trace survived the human slaughter. Castle begins to beat up a restrained Kable around the court while laughing, torturing him while the world watches. He then has Angie and his daughter brought to him and tries to make her own father kill her. Kable fights against him though and slams the knife into the floor, before going at Castle with it.
What the hell was that?
We see that Simon has hacked in and taken back some control of Cable's body. Castle begins to overpower Simon's control, so Kable decides to put the thought in his head of getting stabbed in the gut, and since Castle thinks it, Kable does it.
Oops.
As the family are finally reunited, Simon and the rest of the world cheer for Castle's demise. Kable convinces Castle's technician to turn off the nano cell since it means nothing to them.
Well played, Kable.
Making everyone in the world independent again. And the movie ends. Gamer is a 2009 science fiction action film written and directed by Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor. Originally titled Citizen Game in screening tests, actor Sam Witwer was personally recommended for his role by Michael C. Hall after working together in Dexter. Keith David, who played the detective, also voiced the Slayers commercial throughout the film. Unheard of in cinema, 17-year-old Simon's actor Logan Lerman was actually 17 at the time, not 28. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.